My name's Carrie Joe, and this is my podcast, Holy Chuckles, where we tell real stories, witness raw emotion, and experience holy laughter. The first story I'm going to be telling is my story. This episode's going to be about the day I met God. Leading up to this day, there had been years of turmoil. Starting in 2023, I was working for a company that I had been working for 20 years. And I received a call and they said, "Hey, we have something to tell you." My boss told me we're going to be closing the company. I was in shock. I was in disbelief. I didn't know what was going on. Like, what? We're going to be doing what? I've worked so hard. I've given my blood, sweat, and tears to this company, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Because at that time, I didn't realize I put all of my self-worth into working for this company. Man, I learned some things when this company shut down. I learned about people being able to spot and recognize those of us that had no self-worth. I didn't even know what self-worth was. I wasn't taught about it. No one said, "Hey, come on over. Let me tell you a little bit about self-worth. Let me show you how you should feel about yourself. Let me show you how God feels about you." I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that. And I had come from a religious family and we didn't have those conversations. So I started to realize, wait, give me a second. I did everything for this company, whatever they asked me to do, even things I didn't want to do, right? I remember my boss would be like, "Hey, go and do this." And I'd be like, "Nope, not doing it. I am not doing that." And then something would play in my head a little bit later, and I would call her and say, "All right, I'm going to do it." And that became a pattern, right? I would say no. She would wait a little bit, and then I would say yes. So that pattern was very easily followed between both her and I. And then they started to see that I'm a type of person that would do everything and anything just for some accolades, right? So it was kind of like, on the Oprah show, and Oprah would hand out goodies like, "You get a car, you get a car, you get a car." Now it was, "Carrie Joe, you get a task, you get a task, you get a task, you get a task." And now all the tasks belong to me. I never received any accolades I was searching for. I'm not going to say they never said you did a good job, right? They did. They did say those things, but it was never with full meaning. And I'm not saying they did it on purpose. Let me be clear about that. We are all humans. We are all here in this experience, and we are all learning as we go. They didn't know this is how I was feeling. I didn't know this is how I was feeling. And I didn't even know I felt this way until after the company closed, right? I remember there was a time where they were moving suites and I had happened to be there, and I don't even know why movers weren't called, but I'm like, "I'll do it." And I stayed from after work. I had worked all day, stayed and moved computers and equipment from one suite to another suite, hooked them up, put them all together, made sure when everybody came in, their computer was working. We had an IT department. The IT department wasn't required to stay. That should have been, "Oh, hey, wait a minute. This is not my job." But see, everything was my job because I had no self-worth. And I was trying to obtain it by doing all of these tasks. After they shut down the company, I realized, wait, now what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? How am I going to pay my bills? Wait, I've spent hours, many hours of my day, 12 to 14 hours of my day at work. I exploited myself. I exploited myself to obtain the accolades that I needed to feel worthy. What I didn't realize, right, is, and I don't know if any of you guys out there have figured this out yet, I'm almost 50 and I just figured this out. But the best thing to have is not money. It's not power. It's not material items. It's worth. It's worth. And when someone or something spots that you don't have worth, now they can obtain your biggest commodity. Your biggest commodity. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how many cars you have. I don't care how many TVs, how many houses you have. Your biggest commodity that you have is your self-worth. And when people take that from you, it's like a pot of gold, a pot of gold. And I was giving my pot of gold away. I mean, like they were giving me Oprah, giving me tasks, right? My boss giving me tasks. You get a task, you get a task. You get gold, you get gold, you get my self-worth, you get my self-worth, you get my self-worth. Never did I give my self-worth to me. So now I don't have a job. I don't know what to do with my time. Start to go into depression. I didn't even know I was going into depression because I've always been this joyous, happy person on the outside, right? So I was unsure of what I was going to do. Luckily, I had finished my bachelor's. My wife at the time was going for her bachelor's so we could spend time together. I said, well, let me get my master's, right? Let me just walk on in and get this little master's degree and it would give me something to do. Collecting unemployment. I have a little time, have never not had a job since probably the age of 15. So let me work on my master's. Worked on my master's. And man, I made a decision with myself that my wife had a year left in her degree, that I was going to get my master's done in a year. And when I set a goal, come hell or high water, I'm going to meet that goal. As long as it's something I want to do, not something that I need to do, I want to do. There are a lot of things I've needed to do in my life I didn't do. Didn't even get close to doing. But this master's I was going to get. And also it allowed me to spend time with the person that I enjoyed being with the most, right? So I start my master's. I mean, I'm in it. I'm in it so much that I go to my hairdresser one day and she's like, hey, what's this little bald spot back here? And I'm like, what? There's a what? Didn't even notice it, right? No one noticed it. And she's like, yeah, you have a patch right here and it's bald. So I am walking around with a bald patch right here. And it was a stress patch. It was stress because I was pushing myself so hard to get this master's degree because my job went under. There was my self-worth. Now I had to put my self-worth in this master's degree. And guess what? If I got it in a year, now I could say, I got my master's degree in a year. See, it wasn't about the master's degree. It wasn't about the hard work putting into the master's degree. It was about having the accolades and people tell me how great I was because I did my master's degree in a year. In fact, if I had taken that master's degree and done it in 2 to 3 years, people would still have said, man, you did a great job. But see, that didn't register for me. That didn't register because I need to be bigger, better, do things out of the ordinary to have even an inkling of self-worth. So worked on my master's degree and I didn't realize when I was at my job and stressing over all of these departments and all these tasks to do, I started drinking, right? having drinks with coworkers, having drinks with my bosses, going to these events, drinking a little more. Then I started being at the hotel room when I was traveling, buying a bottle and drinking, right? But this is what everyone does. It's how you relax, right? It's how you unwind. Then when I was working on my master's degree, I, in the evening, would stop 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, because I would work on it like it was my job. And I started to be drinking in the evening, where 9 years ago, I didn't even have alcohol in the house. 9 years ago, I didn't even drink at my house. It was only on occasions that I would drink. So then now I'm drinking. Now I am not working. Unemployment is great, but it doesn't cover everything. Yeah, my wife had a job, but again, I made more money. So we were used to living a certain way, and our money started depleting, started drinking more, right? Didn't worry that I was buying these bottles of alcohol, and that was making our bank account, even lower. I still was drinking. So then I finished my master's degree, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do now? Well, maybe I need a break. Maybe I need just to hang out a little bit and have a break. So what do you do when you have a break? You start drinking more, right? And man, I'm certain I was sweating rum. I'm certain I was walking around this whole great state of Texas, and people were getting whiffs of rum. Like, oh my God, what is happening? Did anyone see a bottle of rum walk by here? Because I just smelled it, right? Malibu could have made me their poster child. Honestly, I should have had my own parking spot at Total Wine. Like, I'd pull in, my app was up, ready to go. I was such a heavy drinker and so lazy at that time in my drinking, had no self-worth. I wouldn't even walk into the store to get it. I would order it on the app and they would bring it to you. So my drinking was out of control. I don't know that I realized it, but what I did realize is that my bank account was getting even lower. So now I'm starting to panic. Now I have to work on getting a job, filling out applications, and got to get my self-worth, right? So I started filling out 10 to 15. And then my wife would be like, wow, that's an amazing amount. Like, you're doing such a great job. Well, if I'm doing a great job at 10 to 15, let me blow her mind. Let me blow her mind and start doing 25 to 45 a day. I was spending 8 hours a day looking for a job. That's 8 hours a day of rejection. Not getting one call, not one, not even an email, not even a maybe we're interested. So now I got my self-worth from my wife saying, you're doing such a great job. Man, that's so many applications. You're wonderful. You're great. And I'm like, yeah, I am, right? But then on the flip side, sending all this stuff out and getting nothing. It's like, you're not worthy. You can't even get a job. I start drinking more. So I have one joy at this time in life. It's not even my family. It's not my friends, not even my animals. I have one joy, and it's cooking, because it brings me back to my childhood of being in the kitchen with my mom. And she, what I remember, had such joy in cooking. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to cook for my wife, right? She's working from home. She's going to school. I have nothing to do. So I start being creative with my food. So I start cooking more. And when you cook more, I start cooking heavily. I start cooking with more ingredients. I start making it extraordinary, over the top. And then I start taking pictures, not even handing my wife her food when it's hot. I literally have to stop what I'm doing, set it on the table, make the lighting right, take a picture, hand her food. And now I'm cropping the picture. I'm doing everything to it. And now I'm going to post it. Because heaven forbid we not get on social media and tell everything that we're doing every second of our day, right? So make it all pretty. It looks good, looks appetizing, and post my picture. Now I wait. I wait. It's coming in. They're coming in. Ding, 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 ding. People see my food. Well, it's so pretty. It looks so appetizing. Your wife's so lucky to have a person that would cook like that. I want to come over. I want to do this. Like your wife's so lucky. It looks so great. Got my worthiness. This posting on social media to get these likes, these comments, these great things said to me was an addiction, was a hard addiction. Not only was it addiction that I had with alcohol, I now was feeding my addiction for food. See, you can see I'm not a small person, and I never have been a small person. I've always been a chunky kid. And I didn't realize I was also a food addict. I fed my emotions. I fed my unworthiness with food. And now I'm getting likes. I'm getting comments, great ones. And now my unworthiness is feeling good. I'm like, oh, okay. And I start doing this even more. So now I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm back addicted to food. I'm not exercising because when you're drinking as heavily as I was, I sure wasn't exercising. And now I'm truly addicted. I was addicted before to social media. I didn't understand it. But now I'm truly addicted because social media was now the last place that I was getting any type of accolades. So in 2024, I had someone in my life that had a tragedy. We had not talked for a while. We had had a falling out. And this person had a tragedy in their life. And so we started talking again, right? And little by little, just developing our relationship, partly because of this tragedy. Still looking for a job, still sending out a million resumes, what feels like a million resumes, still getting a million rejections. Self-worth is still the only brightness to my self-worth was helping this person through their tragedy. Finally, I get a call for an interview. And in between, I had a couple of little interviews, but nothing had panned out. But I get a call for an interview, and man, I am so stoked. This is a company that I had already looked at that I wanted to be a part of. So do my interview. Great interview. And she said, I'm going to pass you on. Woohoo! Get off the phone with her. I'm elated. My self-worth, yeah, it's coming back. I'm feeling good, right? And do my second interview. That interview, whoop, whoop, fantastic. And then he says, hey, I'm going to let you meet, the person that would be your boss. So can you come in on this day? Yes, I can. Yes, I can do this. So I go and do that interview. Man, that interview went great. So my self-worth is, man, we're coming up. And I get the call that they're going to hire me. Elated, ecstatic. You can't tell me nothing, because now my self-worth has gone back into a position, has gone back into a title, a job, somewhere that I can be of service, right? So get the job. I'm working at it. Everything's great. The person that had this tragedy, that we had come back together, and I was finding my self-worth because I was talking her through things. I was helping her through the things she needed. And we decided what would be great for her, what would be great for us for financial reasons is we would move to the top part of the house. This person had a big house, right? Everybody was happy. So now not only did I have a job. I also had time to, because I wasn't going to start the job for a little bit. So I had time to help to pack up all of our stuff. So now I have something to do. And my worthiness has always been in what I could do. So if I'm packing and I'm doing a great job doing that, my wife is going to give me accolades. If I'm moving into this person's house to help them, even though I was really helping myself too, I'm going to get those accolades. Like, you're such a great person, man. You're sacrificing a lot. I wasn't sacrificing anything. My lease was up. I was going to have to find a place to move or sign this lease again. I really was helping myself. But from the outside, it looked like I was also, and yes, we were also helping this person, but it really made it bigger than what it was. And so then I got all those accolades. Now we move into our new place and everything is great. Job is going great. Where we're living is going great. We're in the pool every day. We're still drinking. And man, now I'm around other people that drink. Oh, you can't stop me now, right? Pour another one. Another bottle of Malibu. Let's keep it going. But still, going to my job, everything's great. I had hurt my ankle a while back and it kept getting re-injured, right? And now I'm walking up 17 steps up, 17 steps back. And for a big person, that's like the biggest mountain ever. It's like, oh, do I really want to go down? Oh, do I really want to go up again? Right. And my ankle was not feeling good. And the move didn't help it. I twisted it again in the move. It wasn't feeling great. So I went to a specialist, and let me tell you, this man, I call him Dr. Angel. This man is amazing. I walk into his office. I already know I'm a big person. It's my ankle. In my mind, we're already going to have issues. In my mind, I am debilitated forever, right? There's nothing they're going to be able to do. I'm going to walk, with this limp, just keep walking like this wherever I go. And I do the x-ray. I go into his office and his staff is amazing. And I'm sitting down and man, my palms, I feel them. They're getting sweaty because this man's going to tell me, I know what this man's going to tell me. He's going to tell me what every other doctor has told me in my life. You got to lose weight. You got to lose weight. You got to lose weight. When you hear that your whole life, all you hear is, you're not worthy. You're not worthy. You're not worthy, because I'm fat. So I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy of my ankle being fixed. I'm not worthy of being able to do things to get this weight off so that way I can feel worthy, because, we also carry our worthiness in how we look, because society makes us feel that way. People make us feel that way because they feel that way. So I'm sitting down, my palms are sweaty. He walks in and he's wearing scrubs and cowboy boots, has this big smile across his face, and he introduces himself, shakes my hand, and he said, "So what can I do for you today?" And he sees my chart. He sees, well, you did this to your ankle. Okay. He's like, well, I see your x-ray. He was very straightforward. These are your options. We can do an ankle replacement, or there was another option just where they kind of fixed it, but not replaced it. I don't even remember what it's called, and he said, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you think I should do?" And he said, "I think you should do the ankle replacement." And I'm like, "But I'm a large person. How's that going to be? Because how am I going to heal? How am I going to get up and walk? How am I going to carry all this weight while my ankle is healing?" And he said, "It's not a problem at all." And I remember he sat back in his chair. He exuded confidence. Not only did he exude confidence, he exuded worthiness, because he knew what he could do, because he had already done it before. So he's like, "Man, I've done someone bigger than you. And when she came back a year later, I didn't even recognize her. So your weight, that's not a problem. He didn't lecture me on my weight. He didn't tell me I was too fat. He didn't tell me this wasn't going to work for me. He said, not a problem. I got you. I got you. So I said, all right, I was in because his worthiness and his confidence made me have worthiness and confidence. When they say you should be around people that you want to be like, I understood that right at that moment because he made me feel better about myself. He made my self-worthy meter go up just a tad, right? So we scheduled the surgery. I went back to work. Again, new job. And now I have to have a surgery. I thought they're going to fire me. They're going to say I can't do it. They're going to throw a fit. They did none of that. They said, we're here for you. Go do what you need to do and we'll get you back on track. Don't worry about it. So I said, okay, because see, in my last job, if you wanted to take a day off, you had to explain yourself 10 times over because heaven forbid you get some respite time. So scheduled the surgery and I had my surgery in September and the surgery was amazing. But let me tell you what opened up my eyes. He said, all right, we're going to do this surgery and everything is going to be fine. And he's like, but before we go back, can I pray for you? In my life, I'd never had a doctor say, can I pray for you? It's always been what I needed to change, that I was fat. I needed to lose weight. I needed to do this. I needed to do that. It was never, can I pray for you? And not only did he say, can I pray for you? He didn't say, let me pray for my hands that are fixing to do this surgery. Let me pray for the surgery team. He said, let me pray for you. And that's what he did. And then we went off to surgery. And again, everything was fantastic after surgery. I think him praying for me started me on something of a new path, because if this gentleman treated me with such grace and love, and he shared his worthiness with me, and then he prayed for me, maybe there is a God. So I started praying, and I didn't know how to pray, but I started it. And then I started saying on my drive into work, when I could start going back to work, because I had an hour drive, I started saying, oh, God, I don't know if I'm saying this right. I don't know if I'm doing right, but use me as your vessel. Use me as your hands, your feet. Just use me. And I started going into work being more joyous, being more loving, smiling more, right? I didn't realize I forgot to smile. And I loved bringing people joy, but I didn't realize I lost my smile. I lost my love for life. I started drinking a little less, and things in my home were changing. I was changing, and things blew up. God made us make a change. And man, when I say we moved like we were like a thief in the night. We packed our boxes. Like when we unpacked, shit was just thrown in random boxes. This is not the Virgo way. Okay. We label, we put everything together. We do it the correct way. But remember, I'm in a boot. I am trying to go back to work and function in work. And now I have stuff around me being thrown in boxes and we are moving. We had a discussion on Monday. By Friday, we had moved. We had an apartment and moved. Apartment, sight unseen. sight unseen, had no idea about the apartment, had movers, and we were out. So moved into this new apartment. Everything is going good. I'm back at work and it's November and I'm super excited because November is my favorite time of the year. I love, love, love Thanksgiving. Why wouldn't I? I'm a fat kid. I love food. Not only do I love food, but I love to cook. My brother and his wife, they invited all of us over to come to their house. And so I'm like, great. And we were deciding on, it took my attention off everything that had happened because we had decided on who was making what. My mom's side of the family makes the best cornbread dressing. I don't know what that stuffing is. Nobody likes it. But cornbread dressing, if you've never had it, find you a good Southern person, get them to make it for you. Oh, it's so good. So for me, I felt like I had perfected my cornbread dressing and I was so proud of it. And I told my brother, I was like, I'm going to make the dressing. I'm going to make mom's dressing. I'm going to do it because again, I'm looking for my worthiness, right? And if I can share the fact that I can cook like my mom, who was the best cook in my eyes, she was so amazing. If I can cook like her, my brother is going to give me my accolades, right? My self-worthy meter is going to go up, right? So, man, I am putting my heart, soul, love, everything I could find to this. I mean, honestly, I probably just licked my finger and stuck that in there too, right? Just to give it a little extra oomph. So we get to my brother's house and I have 2 pans of cornbread dressing and some other things. And, I get in there and my brother takes a bite of it. He's like, oh, this is so good. And I'm like, that's right, it is. That's right, it is. But, I walk deeper into his house and my mom died when I was 15. I don't have a lot of items, pictures, stuff from my childhood. My brother is really the keeper of that. And he has a lot of our family pictures out. And so I make my way over to the dining room table and I notice this picture, right? And man, I haven't seen little Carrie Joe in a long time. And I see this picture and man, it stirs something inside me. And I didn't even know it stirred anything inside me. My soon to be daughter-in-law was there and she noticed my shift in where I was when I first came in to after seeing this picture, something changed in me. Finished Thanksgiving and we said, see you next year. We're going to do this again. Everyone had a great time. So we head home back to the DFW area. And something from seeing that picture shifted inside me. So we get back home and back to our normal stuff. And I'm realizing that I'm spending a lot of time on social media, looking at everyone's posts. I'm really not even posting because my unworthiness is gone or not really there. And I'm not really posting a lot. What do I have to post, right? So I'm still reading it. I'm still on it. I'm seeing all the news. I'm seeing all the yuckiness. And I finally said, you know what? I just don't think this is good for me. I don't think social media is good for me. So I deleted it off my phone. And so that way, if I wanted to go look at something on social media, I physically had to get up and go to a computer. And, we're in a time of convenience. Everything is right there. I mean, look, we have Amazon, your groceries are being delivered. What COVID did for us is make us even lazier and less social and just kept us in a funk. right? Because now we didn't have to go outside for anything. We could literally just stay home and do nothing. And that's what I was doing. But I realized social media had a grip on me. So if I wanted to be on social media, I had to physically go to my computer. When I got off social media and stopped seeing all the fake fun everyone was having. I'm not going to say everybody was having fake fun. Some people were having probably really great fun, but I want to make a valid point. If you have to stop what you're doing in the fun that you're having to take a picture or a video, fix it, use your filters, crop it, whatever it may be, and then put it on social media so people can see the fun that you're having, you're not having fun. You're performing. So once I realized that, I started pulling away from people. I started realizing the things that I was doing. I wasn't really having fun. I was just performing. I was just trying to find some self-worth in something. So, since it's December, right? I'm not a big holiday person anyway. My mom passed away, in December, close to Christmas. So December is not a fun time for me. And I thought maybe it was just, hey, maybe you're not feeling good because of your mom's passing. Maybe you're still carrying that. No, something was stirring inside me. Something was happening inside my soul, inside my heart, and inside my brain. Something was happening. Someone contacted me and said, what are we going to do about holiday parties? I said, hey, you know what? I'm not really feeling up to it this year. I'm not really feeling up to being around people. I don't really know what's going on, but I need to work on myself. I need to start figuring out what is happening to me. And, I started really delving into things that were happening. I put away the rum bottle. I, at this time, was still smoking when I was drinking. So now I'm not drinking. Now I'm not hanging out with anyone. Now I'm not smoking. Right? So I'm literally, every vice that I have is kind of being removed from my life, from social media to the alcohol, to the smoking, to CBD gummies, to outer validation, even food. I wasn't cooking. After Thanksgiving, I literally stopped cooking. So everything that was a vice for me had been taken away, or was being taken away. I also started a prayer closet, right? Didn't really know what I was doing in my prayer closet, but we had a second bedroom with that had a bathroom that had a big closet in it. And I said, I'm going to make this my closet. I didn't even really understand why I was doing it, but I understood it was something that I needed to do. And I thought maybe I was just making a space for myself. I bought a Bible. Weird. It was real weird. I don't read Bibles, never wanted to read Bibles, but I bought a Bible. I started getting interested in some of the stories of the Bible. I started listening to some things. But again, I wasn't full on in, right? So it's coming up to Christmas around that time, and I have a computer that I need to exchange the battery, and I'm sitting in our dining room with these little bitty screws. I got fat fingers. These are little sausage fingers. And I got these little bitty screws and this little bitty screwdriver. And I'm taking out these little screws, and they're all over the place. I've already had to pick them up the floor, find them. I have cats. When they hear something drop, they're coming to get it. So these cats are already banging the little screws around. I'm having to be on the floor finding them, and I'm yelling, I'm cussing, I'm in a foul mood now. And all of a sudden, where my wife was watching TV in the living room, she comes around and she said, hey, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, right now? Right now, when I've got these little screws going all over the place and you've already heard me swearing like a sailor trying to figure this out, you need to talk right this moment. And she's like, if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. Oh, hold up. Wait a minute. That sounds serious. Now, let me tell you, my wife and I have serious moments, but probably 80% of the time, all we did was laugh, have fun, and do shenanigans. We literally had a sign above our door that said this house is full of shenanigans. And I'm like, "Oh, well this sounds serious." And so I said, "Okay." And I said okay, and I was irritated. I was irritated, one, that she wanted to talk to me in this moment. I was irritated, two, that there was something that she had been thinking that we had not been talking about. And three, I was irritated that I had to put down what I was doing to now have this conversation that I knew I wasn't going to like. My heart dropped. The room felt heavy. And so I pushed the table aside and I said, okay, what do you want to talk about? And she said, I think we need to separate. My wife and I, we sat down and we had some real discussions about what was going on. And what I realized is she's the only one that had the courage to come and say the things that needed to be said. Because even though she was my best friend and meant the world to me, she also, and our relationship also, was a reflection of my unworthiness. Now I held my worthiness in this relationship, and now I wasn't going to have it. So my worthy meter just tanked again. You know, I got it back up because I got a job. But then it went meow when my wife said the words, I think we need to separate. And I want to say this, we weren't having issues. We weren't yelling at each other. We weren't calling each other out of our names. We didn't even, now the supervisor has to go get a little inappropriate. Supervisor has to bolt. Anyway, needed a little relief for that heaviness, didn't we? Woo! So, my wife and I, we weren't having any issues. We weren't upset at each other. Nothing. We just quit talking. We just quit communicating, and we quit having fun. We stopped laughing. The joy stopped. The apartment felt heavier. Everything felt heavy. So she was the only one brave enough, because we both recognized it. I may not have wanted to say it, because that unworthiness and having her in my life to make me feel worthy was more important than the truth. We decided, we talked it out, we talked some things out, and we said, let's take it day by day. You know, God, He humbles you. God humbles you, and He gracefully breaks you. I didn't know what that meant then, but I sure know what it means now. I didn't even know God was working in my life. Had no clue. None. So my wife says, hey, listen, I think we need a retreat. I think we need a vacation. I think we need to go to somewhere healing. So when I was looking for a retreat, it was not about what I had looked for before, right? Because I went to the places where we had gone to the all-inclusive vacations, and I was like, oh, let's go to this one. We've been there before. It's fantastic. We had a great time. See, I was trying to bring back what we had before, but we were now different people. And different people don't do the same things. So those retreats weren't going to work. or those all-inclusive places weren't going to work. Let me also say our funds were still they were still in a dipping point because I had just been at my job a short time, but I didn't have money saved up, and I had just had an ankle replacement, and we just did another move. So we're using money after money after money, and so we didn't have a lot. So we both had looked places, talked about it, got frustrated, stopped talking about it, got irritated. And so I was at work one day and I was looking, and I was so irritated and so frustrated about everything that was going on that I just couldn't even hold in my emotions. I started to cry at my desk, and I started to get very emotional. And we had this telephone room, and I would go in there, and the only thing that I knew was to call my wife. And I called her in tears, crying and saying, I'm so emotional. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. Everything seems like it's falling apart, and I don't know what to do anymore. And here's a person that's working on her own stuff, that's going through her own spiritual healing, and has had things in her life done to her that is unimaginable, that no person should have to go through. And so I'm dumping my emotional vomit on her, right? And she says to me, everything's going to be fine. We're going to get through this just one day at a time. And we've always had this motto, and we stopped saying it for a while. But we always had this motto, and it was, we said it's better together, right? So she said, better together. Everything's going to be fine. This person that had wanted to separate, and just came to me with full on love, just full on love, not worried about what was best for our relationship, not worried about the things that she was going through. All she cared about was in that moment, making sure I knew that no matter what, I was loved. So, I got off the phone, recollected myself, and went back to my desk, finished working. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to look for this resort or this retreat or whatever we were calling it today, because of how I'm feeling. I'm emotional. So that night I went home and I explained to her how frustrated I was. I couldn't find anything. And so I don't know that either one of us knew how to pray. I know my wife was in her spiritual healing, and like she was praying like she was going to be a nun, right? She was like praying like with her prayer beads, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And she would spend hours praying, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't have the capacity to do that. I can't even pay attention that long. Okay. And obviously, what would I say to God for that long of a time? So we both agreed in our own way, we would pray about it, right? So my way of praying at this time was like, hey, God, I'm looking for something. If you can hear me, can you help me out? I'd really appreciate it. And I would always sign on with, hey, God, it's Carrie Joe. Like God didn't know who I was. Always, hey, God, it's me, Carrie Joe. And then I would say what I needed. I would say what I needed to say. And so we went to bed that night, got up the next morning. I was at work looking for, as soon as I got in, I'm like, okay, here we go again. We're going to try day number 2 of looking for this place. And I don't even know what I typed in. I know I typed in something like spiritual healing retreat, and several came up, and it was ones that served alcohol, ones that were, the alcohol was more important than the healing. And I was like, I don't want that. And I don't even know why I didn't want that. I just knew I didn't want it. All of a sudden, I said, I'm going to try one more time. And I said, okay, God, I'm going to try one more time because I feel it in my heart. Like I'm going to find something I'm supposed to try. And all of a sudden, this resort or this retreat popped up, and it was called Oma's Cancun. Oma's Holistic Retreat Cancun. Something of that nature. You put that in, I promise you it will come up. And I looked at the pictures and I'm like, oh, I was intrigued. And then I went through all the services, sound baths, the Temazcal, the food that was there, the massage, the healing massages, right? Okay, so let's go back to the food for a second, because I had a moment where I freaked out, right? Because first of all, it talks about food, doesn't really go into depth, but at this place and other places that I've seen, it was like, vegetarian. No, I eat meat. And it was like, not this, not that. I started to panic because I will be honest and say, probably most 5-year-olds have a better, healthier diet than I did, right? I eat like a child. Dino Nuggies, give me some. Okay. So I started to kind of freak out a little bit and went, oh my God, we can't go here. We can't go here because it talks about vegetarian food. It talks about this. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. But then something came over me just to calm me down. And I started reading about the other things. And then I started reading the reviews and started looking at like the little rooms and all of that stuff. So I'm at my desk with my phone, little peso to dollar app, and I'm writing it all out. Like I just Virgo'd myself, and I am literally writing out peso side, dollar side, and adding everything up. And now I'm getting excited because it's affordable. It has everything we need. The food's questionable, but you know what? I really can live off peanut butter crackers, granola bars, and like gummy bears. I can make that my diet for the small time that we're there. So I'm getting excited. So I called my wife and I said, oh my God, I think I found it. Look up this place. And I told her what the name was. And I said, okay, we'll talk about it later tonight. So when I came home, I was so excited. And she was like, oh, and I'm like, wait, what? And so she had a couple of questions about it. Okay, cool. I'm down with questions. So I sent the questions to the resort or to the retreat. I didn't want to book it yet. And I had looked at the room that we wanted, and because there's only a small amount of rooms in this whole place, or cabins, places you sleep, whatever you want to call it. So I'm like, okay, God, if this is where we're supposed to be, the one room that we want, it's not open any other time. Keep this room open until they answer my questions. And let me tell you, it took forever. It didn't really take forever. But now I'm impatient. Now I want to book it. Now I want to go. And it felt like it took forever for them to answer my questions. And one of the owners came back and said, I'm so sorry. We were booked with a corporate event that was coming, and it just took up all of our day. And I'm so sorry we didn't get back to you. But here's the answer to your questions. I'm not going to lie. One of my questions was about food. If we're asking questions, I'm going to go ahead and throw that in there. So she came back and answered all of my questions, and I was so appreciative. And then I came to my wife and said, okay, all the questions are here. Here's everything. And man, we booked it in the room. After 24 hours, the room was still open. So I'm like, okay, I took that as my sign. This was our place to go. Flights, everything were booked. I want to tell you that because of my travel that I did with my job that shut down, I had a ton of miles, and a lot of them I hadn't used because we stopped having fun. We weren't going anywhere. We weren't doing anything. So I was able to book our flight with my miles. So there's another cost out of the way that I didn't even understand. I was just excited that I had hoarded my flight miles, and now it benefited me in the time that I needed. That wasn't me, that was God, right? God found my place to go. God made sure I had the funds. God made sure I had miles to book that flight, right? I didn't realize it at that time, but it was God. So time is coming up. We are going to this, right? I start to get a little nervous, like, oh gosh, we're going to be in the little rainforest area or the forest area of Cancun. I'm used to being on the beach, being in a resort. I didn't know what was going to happen. We've been at 5-star hotels, and we're used to being pampered when we go on vacation. That's what vacation is about. So we book our taxi, and Oma's made sure we had a contact to book it, that everything was safe. And so we book our taxi, and they take our bags, they put us in, the van, and they put us in the van like they kidnapped us. They did not do any of that. We went into a van with the taxi driver, and they took us on this drive. And let me tell you, it says it's only like 20 minutes from the airport, but it felt a little longer, especially, going in the foresty area that we were going. I thought for a minute, maybe we were kidnapped. Maybe we are going to be murdered. I'm not really sure what's happening, but you know what? I'm going along with it. I'm feeling my sense of adventure come back that I had lost, right? So we finally make it to Oma's, and we walk in, and we were greeted by an elderly woman. And man, was she just amazing. She told us her name. I can't pronounce it. And then she said, just call me Oma. And from then on, I was wherever Oma was is where I wanted to be. I was a type of child that loved my grandparents, that loved my grandmothers. So, and I had forgotten that. So, she makes us a cup of tea. She introduces us to a woman that lives there just for a short time. So I can't remember her name, but she was from France. Now I'm intrigued again, because now there's a lady from France over here, and now I want to know about all the butters and the cheeses from France, right? Because now my food is back on again. I had a great conversation with her, but we sat outside and just drank tea and relaxed. This may be the first time in my life that my fight or flight wasn't taking over, and I could sit for a minute. Now, I'm going to be honest and say it was a minute, because I'm so used to go, 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 because we always have to be doing something, right? So we drink our tea, we go back into our room, and we're going to unpack our stuff. And we really don't have a lot of things planned for the first day. It's just getting used to the area. So they asked if we were hungry. They were going to make something. And here's me. I'm like, yo, what are you going to make? Because I'm not really sure if I'm eating like cactus, something weird. And she's like, I thought I'd just make y'all some black bean quesadillas. Quesadillas? I'm in. So she made us black bean quesadillas. I'm going to tell you something. Those were the best black bean quesadillas I have ever had in my life, made by a young woman from France. Okay? The best. Ate our dinner, went back to our room. We were going to go to bed. We happened to get into bed, and then my wife consistently stays cold. consistently. So I went to go look to see if there was another blanket in the closet that we didn't put any of our clothes in. I'm just keeping my clothes in a suitcase. We're only there for 4 days. I don't need to fully unpack. I open the closet. I pull out a blanket and I see a spider as big as my face. As big as my face. I try to keep calm because let me tell you the amount of screaming that's going to happen in 2.2 seconds when I say there is a spider in this room. My wife is so scared of spiders, and I'm not talking it has to be a big spider. I'm talking a spider like that. She is going to lose her mind over. So I brace myself for the scream. And I said, there is a huge spider in here. And she said, what? I said, I don't want to alarm you, but there is a huge spider in here. And then the screaming started. She yelled about the spider and she said, oh no, someone's going to have to get that. Someone's going to have to get that. And I'm like, so here's me, right? I'm going to solve these problems, right? Because I am a problem solver. I've always been a problem solver. I will stay a problem solver and I'm going to solve this problem. So I go and get a cup out of the bathroom because I figure if I can put a cup over the big spider, scoot it down, I can then put something on the bottom of it and take it outside and take it to its happy little home in the forest. No. That wasn't happening. I got my cup. I looked at the spider. I swear the spider looked at me. And the spider was like, no, you're not. And the spider moved to the little corner of the closet. And I was like, no, I'm not. And I shut the cabinets. And then I thought to myself, what did I do to us? Where did I put us? How am I going to sleep with this tarantula? It wasn't a tarantula, but it felt that way. Tarantula in my room. And then my wife, she says, someone's going to have to come get that. And I'm tired, right? And I've had enough. I literally get back in the bed because I can't do anymore. I can't do any more, right? Emotionally, I'm shot. Mentally, I'm shot. This spider wants to eat my face. I just want to crawl under the covers and go to sleep. And if the spider eats my face at nighttime, it is what it is. I'm just that done with life. So she tries to get back in the bed and then she's like, nope, can't do it. And so I said, listen, if you want it gone, you're going to have to go tell the young lady in the main area what the issue is. So she goes in there and she tells her and she comes back and the young lady comes back and she looks at the spider and she said, nope, I'm going to call the owner. I said, okay. I'm laying in bed going, I hope I'm not asleep by the time they get here because when I'm asleep, nothing can wake me up. So next thing you know, the owner's dad comes in and he's like, there's a spider. And I point to the closet and he opens and he's like, oh, yeah, that's nothing. I'm sorry, sir. That spider is as big as this face. And he's like, yeah, no, it's nothing. But then to get the spider out, he tried a couple of things. And he ended up killing the spider. Now we feel responsible that we killed a spider in their environment, in their home, and now we're sad. And he said, I'm like, no, you didn't have to kill it. He's like, I didn't mean to, but these are sometimes things that happen. So we went to bed. I don't know that we slept very well because of the spider incident, but we get up the next day. We do a healing massage with a shaman, Christina, and she's amazing. Um, we did another session with a shaman, David. He's owners with his wife of this resort, and he was amazing and gave a lot of great insight. And then we did sound baths. Oh, so good. I fell asleep. It was a little hard for my wife to enjoy the sound bath because once I relaxed and fell asleep, the little snoring came on. So, man, that sound bath put me out. So, this young lady that gave us a sound bath, she was amazing and told us her story, and it was fantastic. And then the next day was going to be no, it was even the same day, I think, Temazcal ceremony. And I had looked up what this ceremony was, and I was unsure at first. I was really unsure. First of all, it has to do with heat. You can see I'm a fat chick, all right? I get hot quickly, and I do not like to be hot. So David, who's going to be doing the ceremony, lets us know about it, and he takes us through the whole ceremony. And so we start, and they're very serious. And when I get uncomfortable, I start joking and making cracks. And I started doing this, and then I felt even more uncomfortable because now I feel like I'm dishonoring what the ceremony is. So I get myself in check, right? And we're at this part where the fireman, fire starter, the person that has set all day with the volcano rocks and kept them heated is starting the ceremony, and we're thanking God to the east, west, south, and north of us, and then we're going to be entering into what looks like to me a clay igloo. And so as we go in, the door is open, we go in, we have to set against the wall, and it is hot in there already. And David says it's going to get hotter. If you feel uncomfortable, let me know. I'll open the door so we can get some air in, but go as long as you possibly can because that's part of the ceremony, really sweating this yuck out of your system. So we're in there, and part of the ceremony, we have to state our name and who our parents are. And so I stated my name. My name is Carrie Jo Botkin. And I stated my parents' names, and I stated them very loud and proud. And we get to my wife, and she says her name, and then she says, because of her past and the things that she had been through, she was having real issues with the way that she was brought up, and some things that had happened. Not only did she have a past where things happened to her that shouldn't have happened, she also didn't physically know who her mother was, her biological mother. So when someone asks you to state your parents' names, that kind of puts a little sting in your heart. And, for me, I stated my parents loud and proud, right? Because I knew who my parents were. And I'm sure that didn't make her feel great. And so when she started, and she had to say her name and her parents' name, when it came to her parents' name, she said, "I'm a child of God." And man, I I was so proud in that moment. Not even because not even because the fact that she overcame not knowing who her mom was, but that she was proud to say she was a child of God. And my unworthiness had such a grip on me that never in my life Did I think I would be able to say that? So, it made me so proud. And I didn't even know why I was proud. I didn't even know why I was proud of her saying that. But we get through the rest of the ceremony, and as we come out, David explains to us as they open the door, right? Water will be poured over our heads, and it literally is like a rebirthing. And then I understood. Oh, it wasn't a clay igloo. It was to represent a womb. Everything started clicking now. Okay. It's like I sweated out some toxins and my brain was able to function. So as we're coming out of this womb, water is poured over you, and it's a rebirth to start anew. And so then we come out and we dry off and we change. And I'm a type of person that needs to process things before I can really understand them. Obviously, I was in it the whole time and didn't understand it was a womb. I also was going into it and didn't understand it was a womb. So I need a little bit of time to process things. We ate some food and went to bed that night. The next day we had things planned, and then we came home. We flew home, and I have to put things away immediately. I need to get my life together. I got to go back to work. When I go to put things away, I had made myself a prayer closet. And when I was a kid, we did devotionals with my mom. And she, at the end of the devotional, she would tell us to find a quiet place to connect with God, to pray and connect with God. So I found my closet, not because I was going to pray and connect with God. It's because I could go into my closet. My mom couldn't see that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was playing instead, right? Like I would go in and say my little prayer. Okay, God, mom told me I had to pray. So this is my prayer. Thanks a lot. Bye. And I'm out, right? But then I had to finish, I had to stay in there a little bit. So I'd finish, playing in my closet. And then I knew when enough time had passed, I could come out. I didn't understand really about what that closet was. But I had watched a movie over sometime between November and January, and it was called The War Room. And it was about this woman who had a prayer closet, and she would pray and just, that was her space. And that movie, I guess I really took it in and didn't understand that even at that time, how much I took it in. But I was using my prayer closet as a way for me to learn how to pray in private, because let me tell you something. Learning how to pray is embarrassing. Admitting that you don't know how to pray, especially coming from a family that we were in the church every time the doors open, that's embarrassing. But I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know how to talk to God. I didn't know how to pray. And I would start out like in my prayer closet, having conversations with God. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing in here. I don't even know what I should be doing. I don't know if I should be praying. Should I be writing things down? Should I be reading the Bible? I started reading the Bible, never read the Bible, never really read the Bible. Started with Genesis. And I thought that's where you start, right? You start at the beginning. I didn't understand through all of this. I was going back to the basics of what I had been taught. I started little by little reading more stories, praying more. I learned that I didn't have to start my prayers with, hey, God, it's me, Carrie Joe, because God already knew who I was. And I learned that because I was reading the Bible. And I enjoyed the stories of the Bible. I loved the stories of the Bible. The Bible to me, whereas when I was taught, it was the rules, what you had to follow, what you had to be, what you couldn't be. And let's face it, I've been talking about the closet, in and out of the closet a lot. We can look at me. I've said my wife, you can tell I've been in and out of the closet my whole life, right? I've come out of the closet many of times. Okay. So being in the closet wasn't new to me. Actually, it was comfortable. It was very comfortable. So, in these times that I was in the closet with God and reading the stories of the Bible, I put away those people that taught me that I had to be a certain way for God to love me. I had to do certain things for God to love me. I couldn't do this or God was going to reprimand me. I couldn't do this or hellfire and brimstone would happen, right? And I started reading the Bible and enjoying it the way that I wanted to. And what I came out of that was the Bible is stories that show the goodness of God. Not only just the goodness, but the Bible are stories to show you how great God is, his magnitude, how all God wants for us is the best of the best. It's like if your parents had no traumas, all they would want for you was the best of the best, right? And that's all my Heavenly Father wanted for me. And so God took me to these stories. He took me to the stories about Noah's Ark. He took me to the stories about King David. Then we went to the stories about Jesus and how Jesus healed people. And then I realized, well, Jesus didn't have a problem with unworthiness. Why do I? So I kept being in my prayer closet every day. And so it was a special place for me. But on this trip, I had taken some books that I'd had in my prayer closet. I'd taken my Bible. And so I wanted to go put everything back. And so I walk into the prayer closet, I sit down in my chair, and I'm sitting there putting stuff up, and I know I had the light on. I remember because the light set on the outside of the wall of the closet, and I know that I turned it on. And I sat down in my chair, and the room went black. I couldn't even see anything. I don't even know what happened. I went somewhere. I know I was sitting in my apartment. I know I had something in my hand, and I know I was sitting in my chair in the prayer closet, but it went black. And this spotlight, the brightest spotlight. Now, I've never been in the spotlight, and I can just imagine what it's like, but the brightest spotlight from the most furthest away came shining down right in front of me. And I saw this itty bitty small person. When I say itty bitty, like you're right there. My little Jesus is right here. It was probably this size. And I'm like, what is that? And then I realized, because I felt it, it was me. It was my soul. It was a bright light setting there. It was my soul that remembered. My soul remembered God. And I don't know what came over me, but I started weeping. I can tell you I've never wept in my life. I didn't even know what weeping was, but I wept because I was in the presence of greatness. I was in the presence of the most holiest of holy. I was in the presence of God. And I knew it. And then I started asking for forgiveness. These things were playing out, all the things that I had done in my life. And I could see them. Like if you were watching a movie reel, I could see them. And I could see them just playing and then just flying out. And that's the only way that I can explain it. And I started asking for forgiveness. I didn't even have to beg. I thought when I met God, I was going to have to beg for forgiveness, plead, make deals. I won't ever do this if you'll just forgive me. I didn't have to do any of that. I just had to ask. Just had to ask. And I did. And then all I could say after that, all I could say in the presence of God, in this spotlight, is thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I repeated it over and over and over and over to the point of wailing. I'm so grateful. My wife could hear everything that was going on, and she knew not to come in there and disturb anything, but that's how loud it was. And even though I was in this moment, I was aware that I was still in the closet, because I thought to myself for a minute, do you think people in the hallway could hear me? Because the closet was, the wall was bucked up to the hallway wall where people walked. And I'm like, you think people think stuff is going on in this apartment that's crazy? But I didn't even care. I didn't care because I was in the presence of my Father. I was in the presence of God, the Alpha, the Omega, El Shaddai. I was in the presence. And he had forgiven me. And now all I could be was grateful. And at that moment, I knew I was now a child of God. Join in next Wednesday, September 24th, for the story of how God rooted me in my faith. Thank you all so much for joining in. I appreciate you listening to my story.